I'm a warrior. I'm a warrior. I'm a warrior. Never gonna hold me down. Solid as a rock. I'm ready for a challenge. Hard as you can't knock me off my balance. Oh, feel got nothing.
Hello and welcome to KamenRider Blackman, and this is my final episode, final video of the year. Episode, video, all the same. But yeah, my final video of 2021. As of recording this, it's the day before New Year's Eve, and boy was doing this video long overdue, because today we will be reviewing the CW show Kung Fu, Season 1 that is of Kung Fu. Season 2 comes out in March next year and I cannot wait. But instead of going over, the story, which is how I originally planned it, because right off the bat right now, I've been meaning to do this video since November. And I get busy, and I get tired from work, and so many other things. So, instead, we're going to be talking about the story detail for detail of why I like this show so much. And thinking about it now, I can't think of any other way to try to wrap up 2021. So, with that said, let's start off with episode 1. Our show begins with our show's protagonist, Nikki Shen, narrating her story. 3 years prior to now, her mother sent her on a trip to China for an arranged marriage meeting. She freaked out and left and hid in the back of a truck that belonged to a Shaolin monk, who would then later be her mentor in Shifu, named Pei Ling. She drove her to her temple, where other female monks also trained. She was only expecting to stay for one night, but as I said, one night turned into 3 years. One night, a thief by the name Jilan attacks the temple with her raiders, going after the sword of Liang Daiyu. In the midst of all the chaos, Jilan takes the sword and kills Pei Ling right in front of Nikki. Nikki is shocked by her Shifu's demise, and Pei Ling tells her to retrieve the sword. She goes after Jilan, but is unsuccessful as Nikki almost dies falling off a cliff, and Jilan leaves with the sword. And as the rest of the first episode goes on, Nikki is motivated to avenge her Shifu, all while getting, I guess you can say, reacclimated after being away from home for 3 years, and just getting caught up and whatnot. And so, at the end of the first episode too, Nikki learns from another supporting character named Henry that there are 7 other weapons just like the sword of Liang Daiyu that hold special powers, and she makes it her mission to collect all 8 weapons before Jilan does, because who knows whatever the hell she might want to do with that power. And so, I know I had to sum it up here and made things a bit short, but it's just a little summary, I guess you can say, of the first episode, to which I would really encourage anyone who's watching this video to go watch the show. Literally either pause this video first, go watch all 13 episodes, or hell, after finishing this video, immediately watch episode 1 and the rest of the show, all of season 1, before season 2 comes out. This is just a good show. And so, how episodes are set up too is that each episode is 1 hour, to which it really shouldn't be a shocker. This show is on the CW, where all of their action and dramas are 1 hour shows. Freaking Nancy Drew, Black Lightning, Superman and Lois, Smallville, what else? Friday Night Lights. Most of their dramas are 1 hour episodes, and if you guys have seen dramas like that before, it's no big deal. So, just putting that out there right now, that each episode is 1 hour, but totally worth it for the story. And speaking of which, of the story, this show also has filler episodes where Nikki tackles an issue of the week, and at the very end, she at least gains a new clue that'll lead into the next episode. Speaking of which, let's actually take a moment because we're going to talk about supporting characters in a little bit, as well as just about right now, because the supporting characters in this show are actually quite useful and help Nikki out on her mission on several occasions. And so, I guess we can talk about. I'm sorry, I'm trying to think for a moment. Do I want to talk about characters now or talk about moments of realism? Well, since I brought up characters, I might as well just mention, I guess, some snippets of the characters now. Because I actually want to start off with Nikki's older sister Althea and her younger brother Ryan. Now, Ryan throughout the show has a small character arc because his arc revolves around him, I guess, recently coming out of the closet to his parents and eventually starting up a relationship with a Black Lives Matter activist. And so I guess you can say that's his somewhat character arc, or at least for him. Like most of the arcs in this show mainly do more for the characters and don't particularly advance the story. It just gives character development for the most part. But it's not bad character development. With Ryan, I guess once he starts being in a relationship, it's still all completely new to him because he clearly came out of the closet to his parents a while ago, sort of. But I guess you could say it's like once he starts dating Joe, that's what his boyfriend's name is, Joe. It forgot my mind for such a long time, but I remember Ryan's boyfriend's name is Joe. But once him and Joe, I guess, go out on their first date, he reveals that it's his first time going out on a date with another guy and whatnot. And it's actually kind of sweet in a way. And there's also another moment where it's totally sweet, where I'll mention it much later. But yeah, let's talk about Althea for a bit too. She is actually the second most helpful to Nikki, right after Henry, because she's a computer genius. Althea is a computer genius who comes in handy on plenty of occasions with Nikki's mission to reclaim the weapons, or just in certain scenarios and filler episodes. The girl is super smart and pretty. Her actresses. Anywho, well, still about Althea. What else there about her is that, along with being super helpful, she also has her own plot arc. Well, not plot arc. She also has her own arc too, with being engaged to her fiance and also being a sexual assault survivor, which comes up plenty of times with her. And her arc revolves around coming to terms with it and needing to confront it, which we didn't see a conclusion to at the end of the season, but hopefully they will touch light and resolve that fully in season 2. But yeah, I like Althea as a character. I feel for her, and which is another good thing about this show. All the characters in here are realistic and relatable, and it's just so undeniable. With Ryan recently coming out of the closet and gaining new perspective, starting a new relationship, which is most likely his first relationship coming out as a gay man, and Althea just being a sexual assault survivor. This show knows how to hit those notes for someone to relate to because it hits back to realism just like that. like being afraid to come out about her story and finally having the courage to do so. It knows how it caught me in any of my emotions, like upset, relief, sympathetic. And this is something that I didn't know if I want to talk about or not, but the most realistic episode I could think of that hits modern day is one episode early on called Sanctuary. And the episode is about the recent shooting of an unarmed black kid. And it upsets everyone, like touching on racism, not just black on white racism, but also racism against Chinese people too. Because, which think about it now, it would seem a little weird, but but the show makes it make sense because of the area they're in. To which the area they're in is they live in Chinatown, San Francisco. And I don't know how the racism is there, but there's one good example that I made sure to remember. It's when, for one, Nikki's parents own a restaurant, and one day when Nikki and her siblings were kids, someone threw a brick through a window, breaking it with a note tied on it that said, "Go home, Ching." That rubbed me the wrong way so much. It was if a thumb was just rubbing my back using the nail and trying to leave such an Indian burn. And the parents kept that, and the parents shielded their kids away from that for so many years, and even made up a story about it, saying that the broken window came from a dragon who came all the way from China to visit them, actually accidentally broke a window, then left. That was just all that to protect the kids from the reality of racism. And I actually want to talk about the mom. I actually want to talk about the mom for a moment too, because she's the stereotypical Chinese mother who steered her kids into getting good grades in school and going to college, become a lawyer, doctor, etc. The mother is so worried in this episode. The mother comes off as a bit cold, but she's cold within reason. She's not cold just to be cold. She's sentimental, and she is worried some for her children. Because with something like the recent shooting of a child in a minority at that, imagine being the mother of that child who just got shot. And imagine being the mother worried for her own children. Not even because they're black, but because they're a minority too. It's not something you want to imagine. It's something you just feel bad about. And it's just so protective and sentimental. Yes, she is. But she hides that under a cold demeanor. Within such reason. To which, going over this now, I have a good respect for the mom. Oh, I also want to talk more about the episode Sanctuary, because Ryan's boyfriend Joe is a Black Lives Matter activist who actually holds a protest. And once cops start tear gassing the protest, all of the protesters take shelter inside the family's restaurant, and a warrant is made out for Joe's arrest. And in the episode, there's an "I'm Spartacus" moment where everyone stands their ground saying he is not going to jail, he did nothing wrong, because it was a peaceful protest. It was not a riot. Straight up. There's even evidence online saying that this will be a peaceful protest. Like, thanks to Althea looking it up, getting it, and shoving it in the cop's face, saying, "What now?" Like, if that episode had went south and Joe got arrested, that would have hit too close to real life. But instead, it ended on a good note like that. Sanctuary is a fantastic episode. Like, it's such a top 5 episode for this show. Man, just so I got that out of the way. I just really wanted to talk about Sanctuary. Now let's talk about more of the characters. I actually want to talk about Pei-Ling and Jalan for a moment because I'm going to talk about Nikki next. And it's that Pei-Ling and Jalan are revealed to be sisters. And because a long time ago, their family has been protectors of the sword of Liang Daiyu on their mom's side for years. And their mom's been long dead. And the age difference between Pei-Ling and Jalan are, well, around that time, or at least for the moment that what I'm talking about right now, Jalan was like a literal child, and Pei-Ling had to at least be in her 20s. And so, years ago, when their family owned the sword, Pei-Ling's and Jalan's father planned on selling the sword, and Pei-Ling was against it, wanting to protect their family legacy. Pei-Ling and her father fought over the sword, and he accidentally gets stabbed. And in a way where you see him charge in, so yeah, accidentally. Jalan was in shock, and Pei-Ling took off, worried about getting in trouble, and since then she's lived with her uncle. Jalan and Pei-Ling actually met again once to try to reconcile, but sadly they couldn't come to a conclusion. It's actually quite sad because if they had made a breakthrough, she'd probably be less of a lost cause. Now, I wanted to mention that first because it'll lead into something a bit later. Because now we can talk about Nikki. I found myself relating to Nikki the most. And I think it's because, for one, we both study martial arts. And two, it's like, I think this is quite accurate. Nikki is the one character in this show who has the second most drama happen to her, aside from Althea, who has the first most amount of drama. With one, I think the biggest hit coming to Nikki, one of the biggest hits coming to Nikki is that learning that Pei-Ling and Jalan are sisters. And also having to juggle having feelings for her ex-boyfriend Evan, who's a DA, and Henry, who is another supporting character, to which they both had growing feelings for each other over time until they finally become boyfriend and girlfriend. To which, yeah, like having that going on, to which, by the way, Evan, dude, like, you're hitting on your dude. You see your ex is feeling someone else, so like, just, dude. You even have a girlfriend too. Evan and his girlfriend break up, and I'm pretty sure it's because because he's flirting and he doesn't know it with Nikki, but just, dude. But yeah. I completely forgot what I was going to say first. I was talking about both Henry and Evan and Nikki, but yeah, Nikki just has so much going on, and I think what makes her amazing is that she's not perfect. She has her moments where she's focused and when she's not focused and is motivated by anger, and it comes back to hit her in the face, like in one episode where Nikki and Jalan are both going after the dagger at this museum, and Nikki is so built up with anger that once she gets the dagger, Jalan threatens her family unless she gives her the dagger. And then Nikki goes back to get the dagger and is so blinded by rage that she gets her ass handed to her, and Jalan leaves with the dagger. And also in that next episode, Evan helps up Nikki when she's injured and also takes her to his cabin. Like, dude, once again, you're hitting on your ex while you have a girlfriend. Bruh. But yeah, Nikki is not perfect, and that's why she's nice, because I can see myself being in those situations too, and probably going through those exact same motions and like the whole 9 yards. And Henry and Evan too. Evan is a DA, so he's more useful in filler episodes, and Henry helps out more episode by episode when it's to advancing the story, when it's gaining a new clue on where any of the weapons are. Holy freaking crap, I almost forgot to mention one of the best things that I love about this show, and that is the fights. The martial arts and fights performed in this show are fantastic. I try to pin down what style like the actors or stunt workers are using, but I can't. But that don't matter. It's still cool watching the simplicity, like detail for details, move for move in each fight. Like, it's hard to even pin down which one's even my favorite. And my mind immediately goes back to like the first episode where it's Nikki and Henry fighting a couple of thugs like right outside of this one store in Chinatown. I love it for the moves, the takedowns, and everything. I actually want to talk about the parents next, because one thing I actually realized I should have mentioned while I was talking about Althea and Ryan is that, well, the dad was much more ecstatic when Nikki came back home after being away for 3 years. Same for Althea. The mom and Ryan, not so much. Ryan at least has like legitimate reasons as to why. Like when he came out to his parents, he was pretty much left high and dry with no support. The mom, on the other hand, was just more shocked that her daughter, one, ran away from home for 3 years without saying anything. And honestly, I'm surprised that the mom didn't think that she was dead. And two, isn't going back to school and just dropped out in everything. Basically, like what I said, the mom is the stereotypical parent, like Chinese parent, pushing her kids to have a good education, graduate college, become a doctor, lawyer, whatever, such and such. Like, one of the big things the show touches on is cultural, I guess, parental expectations. Because the mom comes off how she does within reason. Because in towards the end of one filler episode, Nikki's mom discovers her fighting prowess and reveals to her that on their mom's side of the family, that they're descendants of Liang Dayu, and Nikki just so happens to be the chosen one of her generation. So Althea and Ryan, they don't possess the gifts that Nikki has, being basically the gifts being, well, her whole strong skill, talent, personality, and everything. And how would she know that it was Nikki in particular that's the chosen one, at least for her generation? It's because she's seen her daughter's personality traits before through her late sister, who was the chosen one of her generation. And Nikki does not take this revelation well, because that means she was meant to be who she is now all along, and her mother hid that from her and even tried to change her. And Nikki just takes off, upset with her mother, And she's not the only one, because her dad sees the backlash, looks at his wife, and says, "What have you done?" And about that sister, too, as mentioned before, like, Nikki's late aunt was the chosen one of her generation, so she was basically just like Nikki in a sense. Like, once she discovered her birthright and their family legacy, she was also on a mission to collect all 8 weapons. The only sad difference is that her mission ended when she came up dead. So you can understand the mother's concern because she's literally seen all this before. It actually goes a bit deeper too once like Nikki's grandmother gets involved and reveals that she actually once trained under Pei Ling's mother named Fang Shu. Once, I guess sometime, well, I guess goes by, and one of them has the sword of Liang Daiyu, and learn that one's the protector of, like, preserver or protector of the sword or something, and the other is descendant. Anywho, the grandmother once trained under Pei Ling's mother. 50 years ago, Popo trained under Fang Shu, and when she wielded the sword, she was terrified by the sword's control over her, and thus ceased her training. Alright, so now, Bianca. Bianca itself is a mystical energy, and translated, it means change, but not all change is bad. Basically, how I look at Bianca is, think of the sign for yin and yang. Like, Bianca doesn't take sides, it's not good, it's not bad, it's neutral, and it represents balance. Because, like, think of both of the characters' motives for doing this. Nikki's motivations for, well, stopping Vigilant in the first place is 1, to avenge her Shifu, and 2, to stop her from getting such greater power, because who knows what she might want to do with it. And Jalan's motivation for doing this is to basically, well, create a world where no one would ever try to betray her, and so on. Because, and to be fair, it's coming from the place of a woman who is seriously messed up. So, yeah. But that's the thing about Bianca, and balance. Like, for one, balance is, well, good and evil. One needs the other to exist, or what's the point? But in terms of perception too, you can't judge a book by its cover, because there's layers to, like, everyone. While Jalan's motives seem personal, it's the matter of execution with how she goes about things that we see, not read into. I will say this too while involving Bianca. It's very interesting how, over time, Nikki's mission changes from gathering the weapons to depowering them. Because with how powerful Bianca is, no real person should have it, because who knows whatever the hell they might do with it. Basically, like what I said, we live in a gray world with black and white involved. But the thing about Bianca too is that it's so powerful that you can't resist it yourself. But yeah, that's the whole, pretty much that. Speaking of which too, before talking about the season 1 finale, I actually want a moment to talk about the villains. Which, by the way, these aren't character analysis, these are character snippets. To which, Jalan herself, she's quite an interesting villain. I think what's the most compelling about her is that she's complex. And it's not just her that's after power. There's also I guess you could say, the Tan family. The closest example I can think of is Kerwin Tan, to which, yes, it's Ludi Lin, Zack from the 2017 Power Rangers movie. For what's like Kerwin's motivations for joining Jalan 2 are, while personal, I think it's more of just him siding with Jalan. But yeah, these two, they're an interesting duo. And, well, as a team as well as a couple, since they both do seem to like each other. And sadly, I don't know what they might do with Kerwin in season 2. But we do know that Jalan is still going to be a part of the show. Well, part of the show. Even after she won, before getting into the season 1 finale, she took Kerwin to this, I guess, place where, for one, let me explain this about the villains. Kerwin comes from a wealthy family of, I guess you could say, tycoons. And he's not well liked by his dad, for the most part. Like I said, very stereotypical Chinese family thing. I wouldn't know. I'm not Chinese. I'm African American. But he's that one, like Kerwin's basically that one runt of the litter who one day stumbled across Jalan, words, and they started to work together and started to actually fall for each other. And then Jalan took a dagger and slashed his throat, since Kerwin is still his dad's son. And first off, Kerwin's dad, not a good guy, because not only is he like a billionaire tycoon with his own businesses and whatnot, he also is partly responsible why Jalan's mother is, well, dead. It actually died giving birth to her because of a textile factory that poisoned her village's water supply. It's so, yeah, like what I said, Jalan's a bit crazy. But yeah, she's still an amazing villain. She has depth, backstory, and she's complex to a T. And it's has my attention the entire time. And as for the season 1 finale, it's just such a race. It's such a race to Bianca on who it gets it first, and just so much happens. One, Nikki has to go back to China because apparently the room where Bianca was stored was back at the monastery. So Nikki has to go to China along with Henry and miss Althea's wedding. And freaking Jalan sends her goons over to the wedding to freaking end it and end anyone there. But thankfully, with Evan's help, they put a stop to the goons. And then it's just Nikki and Henry versus Jalan to go get Bianca. And then Kerwin's dad comes in because, well, someone just slashed their son's throat, and now he's in, I guess, critical or whichever condition. But also for power. But yeah. The final episode of season 1, it's just such a race to get Bianca. Because there's one side that thinks that no one should have Bianca at all, especially not Jalan's side, since she wants it for evil. Then you get Tan, who wants it for evil, and there's just so much going on until you reach that one final fight between Nikki and Jalan, where they both possess Bianca inside of them. And when both are fighting, Jalan on her side is fighting. Nikki, on the other hand, is with every hit releasing Bianca out into the earth, since that's where it naturally came from. And boom, Nikki beats Jalan, And as opposed to killing her and avenging her Shifu, she instead just turns her in to the police. But going into that season 2 though, Kerwin's dad is still around and is still after Pianka, since there's one particular person related to Nikki who actually has some. So yes, this is that good part about the season finale. There are elements towards the end, they set up the villains for next season. Evan has a name, sees that they're going to be coming into San Francisco. Like, this show, they made sure to set up for season 2. So, like, yeah. They're going to be set up for season 2. And apparently Jolan is supposed to be a part of season 2 too. I wonder what they're going to do. And I hope I'm going to like it. But yeah. That is the best I can to sum up Kung Fu. Or season 1, that is. To which season 1 is tight. I definitely recommend anyone to watch it because you're going to enjoy it. Like I said before and very early on in this video, either stop watching this video right now to go watch Jalan. Watch Jalan, watch Nikki, watch Althea. Watch it for all the characters and definitely for the short story. You would like this show immediately. But yeah, Kung Fu's a great show. Season 2 comes out March 2022. So, with that said, thank you guys for watching. I'm going to go get some rest. And, well, Happy New Year, really. The next time I actually do a proper review will hopefully be in January of 2022 with KamenRider Build. So, with that said, thank you all for watching. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, share this video, tell your friends about KamenRider Blackman, and I will see you guys next time. Peace.